You know, sometimes I look at myself and I go, how the hell did I get to be this way? And usually it's a very disappointing answer.
Big Macs.
That's always the answer.
Yeah.
This video is brought to you by Big Macs.
Make you fat since Friday.
Yep.
I don't know why.
Why Friday?
I don't know.
It's been a while. But anyway, the point is, I'm very disappointed in myself more often than not. But the better aspects of me, you know, that's kind of what you have to focus on to keep on chugging along. Because then if you don't, you end up with a gun in your mouth. And, you know, it's a bitter tug of war that thankfully I've won thus far. But the point is, when I don't want to kill myself, I think about the good things. And the good things are usually things that have been passed down to me, you know. We as humans ultimately end up being kind of like a, you know, a slap together hodgepodge of those that influenced us, for better or for worse. You know, and I like to think about the people that have volunteered the better aspects of me. So I want to talk about, and maybe this, you know, you'll contribute, you know, as I talk about it, you'll think of yours, about my mentor, who the fuck my mentor was. And the reason I'm going to talk about it is because he was a pretty interesting guy. And I really honestly would not have become the person I become without him. That being said, the worst aspects of me are not influenced by him. So I'll just clear that up right now. I didn't end up in prison because of him or anything he said or influencing me. But the better stuff in me is influenced because of this guy. And his name is, I can't say it because out of respect for the man that he's passed away. You know? But the point is, he was a teacher. He was a former art teacher of mine. And we're just going to call him the Silver Yerfer because that's the nickname we gave him.
All right.
But
because he was silver and nude.
Yeah, he liked to you know, strip down in class and plate himself in chrome.
I like we just said that we're not gonna mention his name out of respect, and then we claim that he
we just completely disrespect his memory. But no, but he was a really cool cat, man. He was this really creative, artistic individual. Not just because he was an art teacher, but artistic in every sense of the word. You know, he liked to write. He performed music. He was a jazz musician. And he just anything that was a creative endeavor, he was knee deep in it, you know, neck deep in it, you know. He was just all about that stuff, and everything that I've grown to love heartily since childhood, he kind of introduced me to it, which is pretty fucking awesome, man. You know, I would have never come across Lovecraft so early had it not been for him. You know, he gave me my first Stephen King novel that I owned, which coincidentally had been one that I already read, but he gave it to me. It was like the first one that I ever owned. He gave it to me, you know, and I still have that book. In fact, it's a copy of Salem's Lot. He introduced me to tons of stuff, you know, the European artistic scene, comic books that I would have never, ever dared to even think about. All kinds of crazy stuff, and we used to hang tough, you know. I wouldn't just be satisfied with being in class with a guy. This is sounding like very sexual, but it's not that way. But after school, he would hold his class open for an hour or two, and anybody was welcome. You know, anybody could come over, and some people did on occasion, but I was like the constant. I would always stay an hour, 2 hours after school just to be around the guy, and he's the guy that pushed for me to be artistic in every single way. He knew I could write, so he said, man, do this, do this. I remember tossing back and forth ideas with him for the first time with anybody because I was so anal about my ideas. But he was the first person that I, you know, was comfortable to bat him off of. Also, in terms of drawing, he was also very supportive of that. And I've kind of fallen out of the practice, especially after prison, you know, because I got so tired of it. And I don't know about you, but when I do something for a long time, to the point where I almost kill it, you know, the joy of it, I'll distance myself. And then after a while, I'm afraid to go back because I have to literally build up to that skill level again.
Yeah, I've gone through that over the last couple months. There was a period where I was drawing a lot. But then, yeah, you reach a point where you either hate it or you kind of like stagnate in your talent.
You have to distance,
but you kind of have to stop for a while.
And the problem with me is like I have a hard time getting back into it. Not for lack of desire, but because I know that I have to.
You have to learn everything.
Yeah,
again,
I have to re-hone these skills, and with art, for me, it's kind of hard to get up to a standard that I reached previously. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like I could do it with writing pretty well. Like I'll get into the swing of things relatively fast, but with drawing, it's like I'm good at it, but it takes me a while to get back to something. But anyway, at that time, I was relatively good at it because of what he contributed to me. And this was when I first encountered kind of like the weird side of the Silver Yurfer. And it was, I remember it was a contest that I entered, and it was, school district contest. I'm sorry, a citywide contest for the school districts. And I ended up getting second place in the contest. And we had to do a poster that had had something to say about society, the George Romero of posters, if you will. And nothing so petty as like stay drug free or something. It had to be like a deep message or something, or deep as kids can get. So I remember the poster relatively well. I remember the center had the evolutionary ladder, with ape to man, but then it reverted back to ape, and then it had all this anti-nuclear shit around it, But it was had a morbid bent because that's who I am. But I didn't think the poster was great, but he loved it, right? So he entered me in that contest. I ended up getting second place, and there was a stipulation in the rules that said that it had to be a flat drawing poster. You could elaborate on it by adding to that. If you wanted to put fucking glitter on it, I guess you could do that or whatever. But it could not be anything else than 2D. And the guy that won first place, or person, I don't know if it was a guy, had a 3D poster, and they gave him the first place. Now I didn't give a fuck. I was like, oh cool, I got second place. Didn't expect that because I didn't even care about the poster, right?
Yep.
But dude, this is how it happened. I was sitting out there waiting.
Brought out a machine gun.
Yeah, I was waiting in the halls, man, and I hear insane screaming coming from, I guess, where they were judging the posters and stuff. Oh yeah. In fact, I'm right, because the people who were being judged, or whose art was being judged, had to stay outside in the hallway. And I hear insane screaming. And this neighbor friend of mine that was also in the same class as I, she come out and she tells me, yo, the Silver Yurfer is going nuts in there over your poster. And I'm like, what? Like, I couldn't even think why. Like, why? Huh? So he comes out finally, right?
You did that?
Yeah, I was like boggled to the point where I was writhing apparently.
Yeah.
But
you're on the ground going.
Yeah, man, he comes out, he storms out, red, fucking from head to toe. He looked like a fucking chili, just red, steaming, looking like a buffalo. Don't get in this fucker's way, type of shit, And I'm like, I get up to go like, what the fuck happened here? What's up? I didn't know what I was gonna say, but that was the intent. And he just storms past me, and slams his way out to another door and just disappears. And I'm like, what the fuck? So this pal of mine who was there, he come out and he corroborates the story. This dude just went ballistic in there. He grabbed the other person's poster and tore it and slammed it onto a table. And I'm like, what the fuck? I still haven't put anything together in my head. I didn't know about, the person that won first place being the 3D poster or nothing. Long story short, that's right. Long ass story that I already told short. I finally, we finally get back to the school, the Silver Yurfer. The next day I head over to his class after school, and he tells me, hey, I gotta apologize. I kind of went, a little over the edge, and I'm like, well, what happened? And he explains to me the thing about the rule, 2D and 3D. But he doesn't tell me anything about slamming and tearing posters apart or nothing, right? And he gives me back my poster, and I'm like, well, thanks, man. And he's like, you deserved first place. And I was like, well, thank you. That meant a lot, just saying that. And then I kind of just put that in the back of my head, right? Like, all right, well, that was weird. But he must be fucking passionate about my art.
I guess.
But anyway, some time passed, man. And I went, this was junior high, by the way. And I went from junior high to high school. And even through high school, every day after school, whenever I could, I would, because, eventually I got a job somewhere along the way. I would stop by his place or his class and hang out after school. And at the start of every school year, I would ask a friend that passed by there to ask him, hey, is it cool if I drop in? Just out of courtesy. He would always say yes. And not every day, mind you, at the beginning of the school year, she would ask. And so this year was my junior year. And I said to her, hey, ask the Silver Yurfer if it's cool if I drop in this year. So the next day she comes and she's like, you're not going to like what he said. And I'm like, okay, it's odd. And I go, well, what'd he say? She goes, he said to go fuck yourself and don't ever come by again. And I'm like, what the? And I laughed about this because I'm like, there's no way the Silver Yurfer would ever fucking say that, right? And I'm like, what? Ha ha ha. But inside I'm like,
you're like,
yeah, inside, not even, I didn't get that bad. But I was like, a part of me was like, there's a big possibility that she's not kidding because nothing about that said she was kidding. So I'm like, huh, what the fuck? But I didn't go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So about a month later, it's just killing me at this point. Like, what the fuck's going on? So I send another friend. I go, hey, man, this sounds very passive, but, we lived a distance from the school. And these people just happened to live by where he was at. So I send a friend. I'm like, hey, man, ask the Silver Yurfer, what's up?
What up with that?
Yeah, did I do something to piss him off and stuff? So he comes back and he's like, he says to drop by. And I'm like, oh, okay, shit. This chick was just kidding, right? So I drop by, this being about a month later, and I go in. There's nobody in the classroom, just him. So he touched me. No, I'm just kidding. Once again, gotta remind myself he's dead. But anyway, the point
also,
is,
those things are going around a lot. So
no, I come in and he's drawing some stuff.
Kids.
Dude, he showed me this cool ass poster that an artist friend of his had drawn for Coca-Cola, which was Alien vs Predator with a Coca-Cola theme. But it was really cool, whatever. We got to talking real quick. We're back in the flow, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this lull, that pregnant pause that something's going to be said. And I'm like, oh man, there was something to this after all. And he goes, hey, I got to apologize for what I told, I'm not going to say her name, but your friend to tell you. And I'm like, okay. Now it's like he said that, right? Mm-hmm. He said, fuck you, you fucking shithole. Go eat ass. Well, not that. He might as well have,
My ass.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I'm, again, my mind goes into a disarray and I'm trying to make sense of something before he even says anything. And he reveals to me that he's schizophrenic.
Mm.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, I've been going through this for a long time. And there's just certain times when I can't control it anymore. He goes, it had nothing to do with you. It has to do with the situation that I'm in right now. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? Well, the first thing he told me was that because of that, he had a problem with his jaws. He would always be grinding his jaws. So his teeth had worn the nubs, basically.
Wow.
And he couldn't even play music anymore, which was like the love of his life. Music was what he was about, right? And on top of that, he had been involved with his teacher. And the teacher just happened to be the teacher right next door to him. And she was divorced, or I should say separated, from another teacher. And they had gone together, the Silver Yurfer and her. And as a result of that, they had a relationship that lasted, over the summer, basically, right? Then she come and revealed to him that she had just used him as fodder for making the other person jealous, and now they were back together, and she was, making a big hubbub about them ever being an item, right?
Mm.
And it got to him, and it drove him over the edge. Understandably so. We've been there.
I mean, not really, but yeah.
Well, people have been there.
Yeah.
The point is, I get it. I get it. And and I'm like, hey, man, shit. Well, fuck. I didn't know that. That's cool. Really, you could have said.
It's not cool. But...
It's not, but it, in terms of.
Yeah. We're cool.
Yeah, seeking an apology. I mean, you don't have to. It is what it is. I'm glad you told me. And we were cool again, right? And anyway, this went on until I graduated, and he ended up moving. Actually, before I graduated, he ended up moving to another school district. And I would keep in touch with him over the internet. And, you get distance from people. Eventually, the contact is not as constant, right? And I remember talking to him about writing a Lovecraftian influence story. And again, he was the person that introduced me to all that. So I said, this would be cool. See what he says about this. And he was telling me about his art, that he was having a gallery showing of his art. And for some reason, speaking of chilies, him being red as chili, for some reason, all his art, like the art that he was serious about, you know, like Picasso had his cubism phase, and
Yeah.
you know, surrealism for Dali and stuff like that. They
Van
all
Gogh
had
had his insane face.
right. They all have like a distinct style,
Yeah.
or theme. His theme was chilies.
All right.
Now this man could draw like the fucking devil on steroids. You know, he was good. I don't know what that metaphor is, but there you go. He was an excellent artist. He could draw anything he wanted, and it would look great. But his art, the one that he decided to you know peddle, was chilies.
Like chili peppers.
Yeah, chili peppers. Now we do live in
like,
the Southwest.
What kind of like?
It was
like
just
a pepper shooting another pepper.
I saw some of them, and I'll give you a quick description of one. It was a chili pepper. That's it.
All right.
In the middle of a field of color. You know,
okay, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't understand. They were not
cool, I guess?
they were not photorealistic,
Uh-huh.
but that's the theme. It was always chili peppers for you know the art that he chose to
All right.
identify himself with, which is odd. But it was
Did
his
you
thing,
like
right?
chili peppers?
I guess so.
All right.
But whatever. Anyway, that was his thing, which I found odd because of you know all the things he liked.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got to speaking, and he was like, "Yeah, you can come down and see me at this club that I play at." And I'm like, "Oh, good, you're playing again." And he's like, "Yeah, it really hurts, but I can still kind of do it, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And he had learned to play. I forgot what the other instrument was. He had learned to play another instrument because he couldn't play, what is it called, the trombone anymore, because on account of the jaw thing, right? So anyway, that's kind of where it stayed. And then one day I hear from one of my exes, who was also a friend of his, that he had disappeared. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And, you know, the story was he had just vanished while on a camping trip.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it was like no one heard from him. And it got to the point where it's like either this guy just up and left to another country or something, or he passed away. And it never becomes real until you actually hear it. And even then, sometimes it's like hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, lo and behold, about 4 or 5 months later, right around December-ish, or you know, Christmas time era, Thanksgiving maybe, they found his fucking skull in the desert.
Now we are surrounded by desert.
Yeah. So somewhere in the expanse of the fucking Southwest desert, they found his skull. And this is the story as I've cobbled it together from news reports and from talking to his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, his suffering because of his condition had gotten so intense, and he had felt that he had lost complete grips of his art, and you know the chilies,
yeah.
I guess, or you know the music especially. But
yeah.
That and relationships were never working as a combination of you know the condition he was in and other aspects of his life. And so he just kind of went on a fucking walkabout in the desert, camped out. The last person to see him was a set of Border Patrol agents that saw his campsite, came up, checked he wasn't a drug dealer or some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, okay, cool, you're good. And those were the last people to see him. Apparently, at some point, he just decided to walk out and die. And either wolves got to him first or they got to his body first. The point is, I mean,
not good.
A tragic ending.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, if you're gonna go out,
that's a pretty badass way to go. I mean, it's not.
Bad. It's not. It's sad.
It's very sad.
But fuck
if,
it, man.
If you're gonna do it,
for a man that apparently had lost complete control of his life,
yeah,
I guess that was like, this is something I have
something
control
I can't.
of.
Which is
So it was very sad,
it's
man.
It's not cool.
I won't. Yeah, it's not. I won't lie. This is one of the. Besides the relative that's passed away, this is probably the only person I've cried for. Because it was tremendously sad. And not only because of the influence he had on me, it was just sad. It was a sad circumstance.
Yeah, like even if you don't know the person.
Yeah, I mean, when
knowing the backstory and what happened is pretty damn sad.
Absolutely. And so anyway, but he has always remained in my mind as the person that most influenced me. And, you know, my love of everything that even stuff that's new it's all kind of fed by the fountain that he sprang inside my mind. You know, like this is what is quality. This is what it's good. What is good, even if it's, you know, trashy stuff that I love.
Yeah.
It's like he gave me the value of that stuff too. You know, so yeah, my mentor ended up killing himself. So I guess I shouldn't have started this thing by saying all those killing jokes.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. But that is easily the person that's influenced me the most in my life, and the person I consider a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you've thought of yours, but if you have, we'll do another video for that. And if it doesn't show up, then he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, there won't be one. But anyway, that's been me, Ahab, talking about my mentor, the Silver Yurfer. May he rest in pieces. I was going to say, son of a
damn
bitch.
it, dude.
Anyway, ruined that. But the point is, rest in peace, as I intended to say, Mr. Silver Yurfer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, share, subscribe. Tell us who your mentor is and why. And we're out.